you trust Ferguson Roof Systems to replace your roof, we go the extra mile to protect your home and property. On every job, we deploy durable netting to protect your home's exterior and landscaping. It's just one more reason why you should call Ferguson Roof Systems today.
All right, we are rocking and rolling. Okay. All right, make sure everything's set up, ready to go. Hey, everybody. Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle here with you. We are back to talk about the weather. It's about, no, that's right on the money. It's 9:30. We're going to talk about the winter storm that continues to move through the southern plains, providing really a mixed bag. It's a lot of freezing rain, some freezing drizzle, it's sleet, it's a little touch of snow, not much with that system, and then eventually obviously some rainfall too in the areas that are not at or below the freezing point. So is it going to last? Are we going to get more rounds? All that kind of stuff and more. I'm glad you came here. You come to the right place. Cover all of Oklahoma and surrounding states. So usually on big events, I'll cover other areas other than just Oklahoma and Oklahoma City in particular. So like lately, we've been talking about Dallas for the last several days, only because they were kind of in the bullseye of some pretty nasty stuff for those folks that are really going to cause some problems. Out there currently, of course, it's been cold. Believe it or not, though, it's actually probably the warmest it's been today. 22.5 degrees in my backyard. We still have a north wind as well. Cloudy skies out there. So kind of status quo, what you see is what you get. By the way, you guys, real quickly before I go any further, on Facebook, let me post a link. You can get live updates from me through your instant messenger. If you're missing out on them, just make sure you click that link fast. It will scroll quickly in the comment section. You guys out there on Rumble, welcome. Said a couple hundred of you have signed up here over the last couple of weeks, so welcome to AT's Weather. Hope you enjoyed the live show. Out there on YouTube, also good to see you guys as well. Jim, I see you from Mustang, always checking in, and Miss Jody's got you under control in the live chat function. And then finally on Twitter, good to see you guys popping in on the bird. Okay, so let's see. All that housekeeping said and done. Let a few more of you in here before I get down to meat and potatoes, right? Okay, so here's the first thing I want to show you is the radar view here across central Oklahoma. And out there right now, as we mentioned, some cloud cover, right? If you go a little bit further to the south, though, around Paul's Valley, you're running into some heavy freezing drizzle. And that kind of stretches out from Purcell to Lindsay. This activity is moving to the south and east, so kind of in the same pattern of just advection with some colder air, and then the upper flow bringing in the moisture and some low-level combinations. So again, look for some problems with area roadways overnight, bridges and overpasses down here in southeast Oklahoma, because they're still getting some light precipitation in that area. And I'm going to zip on down to Dallas here real quick. They've had a mixed bag also of freezing rain, freezing drizzle, and sleet come down in the Metroplex, which obviously causing a lot of problems, and they still have a good heavy round of light freezing rain and sleet moving through as we speak. So and their temperatures are into the 20s, so it's going to stick and it's going to cause problems on the area roadways. So they're not in good shape down there at all. And this is still, they got a lot more to come other than this. So if you're watching me down there from North Texas, yeah, you still got more of the same and even heavier than what you saw today. I know it took a while for things to go downhill, but they quickly did by the time we wrapped up the daylight hours. Okay, so let's move on to forecast sounding here across Oklahoma City in the evening. This is to kind of show what our precipitation type would be like if we got more precipitation overnight. It does indicate freezing rain and drizzle in the sounding. If it came down heavy enough, it actually probably could be sleet within this. I think the model's right on the borderline from that, or the atmosphere, I should say. It could teeter back and forth again. So anything that comes down tonight, though, is more than likely without any significant lift. It's just going to be kind of that nuisance freezing drizzle variety, kind of like we saw on radar a moment ago. And then if you look down in Fort Worth, this has a much bigger nose. So remember, the temperature that goes up in the atmosphere starts at 0 degrees. This is the Celsius line. So where we live and breathe down here, we are below the zero. So in other words, we're below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're at 28. And then once you get up here into the mid part of the atmosphere, several thousand feet up, we're at plus 10 degrees Celsius. So this warm air is what causes all the rainfall to form. And then as it falls back on this side of the line, it freezes back over. And if it doesn't have enough time to freeze into those little tiny ice balls called sleet, it flash freezes by the time it hits the ground as freezing rain. So your profile down there, in other words, shows freezing rain for Dallas-Fort Worth with a surface temperature of 27.9 degrees. In other words, that's what you got in your future overnight. Now here's a look at the winter weather advisories across the state. Still a mixed bag of both the winter weather advisory and also a winter storm warning. The difference is just the magnitude of how much more precipitation you'll see in one versus the other. The winter weather is a light version. If you look elsewhere across the southern plains, you can see an ice storm warning continues here for the I-40 corridor going through Arkansas down toward Little Rock. And then back out to the east a little bit. We're going to look at the model data down here to see if this is going to materialize over time. But also, the winter storm warning continues down here for a good chunk of Texas. So as we mentioned in prior broadcasts, the main area of ice accumulation is 1, 2, 3, and then kind of back here in a broad 4. So those are your hardest hit areas of ice accumulation with this storm system, which can cause some catastrophic situations with power outages down for days or weeks. Could be longer, depends on how far out in the rural area it is, how long it takes for crews to get to you. If there's not enough crews to go around, it is what it is. They work as fast as they can. Wind speeds out there tonight are still out of the north, gusting over 20 miles per hour. If we do look at temperatures elsewhere across the state, they're also into the 20s, even some teens in the panhandle. But these green numbers on the map is the dew point value. And so we're still holding with that Arctic air down into the single numbers right around northwest Oklahoma through the panhandle into central Oklahoma. So yes, this is bona fide Arctic air, and that's why the models always have a tough time with it as far as how far south it'll go, etc. If you look at the map, though, with actual air temperatures, you can still see far southeast Oklahoma, Curtin County, has yet to get all the way below freezing, and it may not for this entire event. It's just kind of the way the cold air dams because it's so shallow in the higher terrain down here. But if you do look elsewhere, the body of the state, we're out into the 20s. And yes, those are some single digits out in the panhandle. Wind chill values below 0 in the panhandle. Otherwise, they're holding into the single digits across the body of central and western Oklahoma and to the teens to the east. Here's a look at our upper level storm system out to the west. So this little spinning motion that you see right here. There we go, right here. This is our upper level low, and this is going to do a little dip and then come across Texas. Now, what you're also seeing out ahead of it, what it's doing is it is pumping in the Pacific moisture train on the southern branch of the jet stream, coming right through Mexico and Texas. Again, the I-44 corridor right in here, it's on the northern fringe of this axis. So we're just on the northern fringe of the precipitation shield. We are going to get some decent rain out of this on Wednesday, but for Tuesday, it should be fairly light until the system gets closer to us. So speaking of which, here's a look at it from the computer model standpoint. There's the upper level low hanging out there across Baja, but look out ahead of it by, I'll tell you what, let's do this right here. So here's Tuesday. Remember, the colors on the screen indicate lift in the atmosphere. The more red you see, the better the lift. So we're going to have some moderate lift coming through from Mexico, stretching through Texas into Oklahoma on Tuesday. That'll be our little round that moves through. Then if you look into Tuesday night and a Wednesday morning, look how much more lift returns and gets closer to Oklahoma for Wednesday afternoon and evening, and again to North Texas here and Western Texas as the system finally starts to work through by Thursday morning. So we still have a couple of days to go for this whole thing to clear out. If we look at down a few thousand feet lower than that, we can time out the heaviest rounds of precipitation. So we'll start your current time. The heaviest rounds, obviously, with the big bright reds and purples out here to the east. That's where that currently is ongoing. Now, as we go into tonight, you can still see some light lift around, right? So you still have pockets of freezing drizzle around. And then by the daybreak hours, here's that secondary batch of some heavy lift moving through Texas, coming up to the Panhandle, to the Red River, and then to southern Oklahoma by mid-Tuesday morning here in Oklahoma City. So what that means is, just like this morning, by the time it gets here in Oklahoma City, some of you may have already gone to work, some of you may be getting to work late, some of you may have already gone to school, some of you may be on your way. It's bad timing. You know, it needs to come in before all that nonsense happens, not in the middle or afterwards, so it messes everybody's timing up. But needless to say, it's going to go through lunchtime, the tail end of it, but now moving through Tulsa and the rest of eastern Oklahoma. So your heavyweight moves through then, and then it's into Arkansas for the afternoon. And then things quiet down. Look how kind of quiet it is for the lift across the state. Kind of a breathing point. By the way, I will go back here and show you that Dallas-Fort Worth also had this lift come through. This is in the morning hours. And then some really heavy stuff moving through the mid-morning hours. Then it's quickly out of there. So there's your quick, fast mover for Dallas. You'll probably have some thunder sleep mixed in with that, along with the freezing rain and freezing drizzle. All right, so now on Wednesday, here comes the final big hurrah. This is midday Wednesday coming out of the Texas Hill Country, coming into central and northern Texas. That means Dallas-Fort Worth, some heavy stuff coming in midday Wednesday on into Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening. You see this does move into central Oklahoma and to the south and east of us toward Arkansas. Continues to blow up here for the next several hours. That's midnight hour. And then overnight, Wednesday night, it all starts to shift off to the east into Arkansas and into eastern parts of North Texas, and then et cetera, and it's out of there. So that's the timing on those big waves. Temperatures, are they going to get above freezing? Let's find out. The only fly in the ointment in the short term is what happens with the cold air damming over here in Arkansas. The models are having a tough time getting it just to Little Rock and not much further than that. And they're even having a tough time keeping it cold enough in Little Rock. But needless to say, central Arkansas is the best opportunity to see some widespread issues with significant power accumulations or ice accumulations. Okay, so we're in the 20s out there obviously now. And then down here in Dallas right here, they're at 30 degrees, 27 in Fort Worth. But as we head on into time here, let's go into tomorrow morning. All right, so we're down to the teens here in Oklahoma, still the 20s, upper 20s in Dallas, not much change. It did get cold enough down here in the southern parts of Arkansas for the morning hours, and then in the afternoon, temperatures will rebound. So we're probably still going to be in the lower 20s here in Oklahoma, and you're still going to be in the upper 20s here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and then the models are still keeping it cold here around central Arkansas, even down the southern parts of Arkansas for all day on Tuesday. Now, this is where things get interesting. This is Wednesday. Now, I will tell you this. Models always have a bias to warm things up too much after the progression of an Arctic air mass. They moderate it too much. The only thing it has going for what could happen is the precipitation. If it does come down heavy enough, it can pull down some of the warmer air aloft and warm the low levels eventually. It'll take some time, but the damage may be done while that's happening. So in other words, as Wednesday turns in from morning to afternoon, that transition may be entailed, but if you already get half an inch of ice accumulation, then it starts to melt. There was half an inch weight, to deal with for the first half of the day. So it's going to be questionable to see what happens on Wednesday. This again, assuming that atmosphere actually moderates. So we'll go to Wednesday afternoon. Here's a look at snapshot at 3 o'clock, and it does get much of central Oklahoma above freezing by at least a few degrees. Model's really excited about 37. I doubt that would happen. I'm probably thinking more like 33 or 34, even if it happens. But however, it does keep the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area kind of in the freezing point, so you guys do not get a break. But it does alleviate down here in southern Arkansas and central Arkansas. That's what I'm saying. This is the question spot here for Little Rock as to whether or not you actually get above freezing at all to help alleviate. What you're going to have is a nasty ice storm prior to that. Same thing for Dallas-Fort Worth. But there might be some relief in Oklahoma. It's a questionable call. I actually would lean more toward us just going ahead and staying on the cold side until late Wednesday night, and then we can warm things up. So here's a look at how precipitation should break out for tonight. Again, that heavy stuff off to our east, peppered stuff down in Dallas-Fort Worth. I'm showing you the big picture first, then I'll zoom in Oklahoma. So there's Tuesday morning. That new wave is already underway. Remember that lift that's coming in down here across the south, coming into the Red River. So as we head into the mid-morning hours, it explodes across southern and central Oklahoma. Yes, probably cold enough for some snow on the backside of this. Heavy freezing rain, though, closer to the frontal boundary down there across the south-central parts of North Texas. So down almost to Waco, looks like. Not quite to Bryan College Station. And then maybe down toward Austin a little bit for a little taste of some light freezing rain. Needless to say, that'll continue on through the middle part of the day, then it moves out. Look how fast that wave moves. Remember the timing on the wave of energy we mentioned, the lift, how it kind of quickly moves through. So that gives us a little bit of a lull. Now there still is some light stuff behind it, especially down here around central Texas, but nothing extremely heavy. So that's some breathing room, right? All right, so we head into the evening hours on Tuesday. You can see there's still a lot of light lift in this area in Texas. Still going to cause some light freezing drizzle and light freezing rain. As we head into Wednesday morning, though, this is where it gets interesting. Watch how it blows up here across the region. All that red stuff, by the way, on the map is freezing rain. The purple is actually sleet that gets mixed in. And then as it kind of moves to the north, of course, far western Texas actually even gets a little bit of snow, looks like, with that stuff. But as we head into the midday on Wednesday, it continues to expand down there across Texas and then starts to work its way through southern Oklahoma into central Oklahoma by Wednesday afternoon. So there's that final heavy push. And as long as Dallas stays below freezing, this nasty wave will move from west to east Wednesday evening into your area and adding insult to injury. So let's take a look here at the close-up view of Oklahoma. So there's that mixed bag along the Red River, 8 o'clock in the morning to a few counties inland. That's a mixture of freezing rain and sleet. Predominantly, I imagine it's going to be predominantly sleet. And yes, there will be a little bit of snow mixed in with it, but don't get excited. Shouldn't account to really much of anything. So there's 10 a.m., for example, in Oklahoma City and central Oklahoma. So again, it comes through Oklahoma City probably as early as 8 a.m., and then as we head from 9 to 10. So it's about a 2, maybe 3-hour window of significant precipitation. And then Tulsa, let's see, your timing starts right around 10 o'clock in the morning as well. And then you carry on through about, let's see, you're going to go to about 3 o'clock. And then it's going to move out of your region and then quiet down. And then after that, it's quiet up until we get into Wednesday afternoon, after lunchtime. And then that's when that mixed bag of freezing rain and sleet moves in from Texas, then starts to move its way up into Oklahoma. And look at that big, heavy freezing rain indication. Earlier today at lunchtime, there were some model indications that may kind of dry things out across the north. Believe it or not, this is the same model, and it's flip-flopped, and it said, nah, I'm just kidding. For 2 days, I was trying to trend it dry, and Aaron, you didn't quite believe me, and now I'm going to just go ha-ha, and I'm going to go right back to being wet. So this has been a very challenging forecast. All right, so there's midnight, Wednesday night. You still see that heavy freezing rain across Oklahoma through up until Enid and Stillwater and even across Tulsa until we get to about Thursday morning, and it all finally starts to wrap up. So again, that is a new trend, but not unexpected trend. Let me clarify on that deal. All right, if we do look at the precipitation in the morning, I wanted to show you this only because it's going to be light accumulations tomorrow. I mean, the miles are only going looks like a couple of hundredths here across anywhere from western to central Oklahoma. But again, that's all it takes to cause some travel issues on the roadways. So just be careful. So just like today, you know the drill. Take it slow. All right, then I'm going to focus in and just fast forward to Thursday morning. Kind of give you an idea of what that new high-resolution NAM model was looking at. It's got about 1/4 inch of ice here in Oklahoma City metro area, down to the south and out to the east, even up just south of Tulsa to Muskogee, and then parts in here up around 3/10 and down along the Red River close to 1/2 inch in some of this data set. So what's the difference with this? Well, again, 1/4 inch is really all it takes to get power outages. All right, so that should kind of get your attention. Anything more than 1/4 is just more weight, which means more outages. So you get up to 1/2 inch, you got a lot of problems. So as I talked about before, I still favor southern, southeastern Oklahoma for the hardest hit on ice accumulations, which means some more of that catastrophic wording when it comes to an ice storm, because it's going to cause a lot of power problems. And that continues down to North Texas and Dallas, then back out here to parts of western areas of Texas. Now this is the overall area of concern. It's not the actual real totals, but the overall area of concern hasn't really changed a whole lot as far as where the ice will fall. The numbers have changed, though, dramatically as we've been looking at that map. So the only reason why I really show you that is just kind of show you the big picture of where some of the freezing rain and drizzle will occur. All right, I actually kind of like the European data, only for this. I was disappointed in its performance. It didn't do as good as it should have. It actually ended up trending more toward the Canadian, which never moved. The Canadian was been locked for 5 days in a row with Armageddon in a more southern track. The European was half-stepping it, kept holding on too far to the north, and then now it's finally caved and went more south. But the bottom line is here from Dallas-Fort Worth, it's got 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch of ice from there westward back into the hill country southwest, and this is doable. Down here in southeast Oklahoma, 3/4 inch of ice. So if I had to take my model of choice, finally the European will be it with a look at these totals. This is what's potentially on the table. So when you say, can you have a catastrophic ice storm in this situation, you most certainly can. And the favorite areas, what I've been highlighting here for several days now, kind of in this little zone right here. So again, central Arkansas, southeastern Oklahoma, down maybe toward Ardmore, back into North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth, back down just probably north and west of Waco, into parts of the hill country there, and that is not going to be pretty. That's a large area to have to get power restored to. Temperatures, I'm going to talk about that here in Oklahoma City briefly. We'll be, of course, in the 20s tomorrow, and I doubt we'll ever see 26. Keep in mind that models are always going to be wrong in Arctic air. They're always going to be too warm, so we'll probably stay in the low 20s, just like today. And then on Wednesday, I don't think we'll hit 37, maybe 33. If we're lucky, 34. I think it's the most we could get. Otherwise, I honestly think it'll probably still hold about 32 degrees, maybe 31 here in Oklahoma City, again, which adds to the ice accumulations for Wednesday evening, which causes more problems for us. And then on Thursday onward, we do get above freezing. There will be some 60s across the region on Monday, so that looks pretty good. Do have some. I didn't look long term today, too busy, but there was another storm system toward the middle of next week, and some of the other model data which may indicate we might be dealing with a little bit more of freezing rain, sleet, snow, something like that nature, but maybe fairly on the light side. Let's see. Let me show you this was the, let's see, the morning run of the European, which kind of finally favored Dallas and Southeast for some pretty good totals. Anywhere in here is a 1/4 to 1/2 inch. But I think I can get a better view on this other map here. And let me do it this way. And we'll see what it says. And then I got one more map for you, and I think we're about wrapped up here. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, there's Thursday, 6 o'clock in the morning. There's a close-up view of Oklahoma, McAllister at 1/2 inch of ice up toward Fort Smith, and then down here the sweet spot south of there, back down to Sherman, that's 8/10, back down to Graham, 7/10. Dallas Fort Worth just off the bottom of the map here, but it's right around a 1/2 inch to 3/4 in your area. And we will see, I believe, the Weather Service change this. They're a little late on this map. I don't know why. I just kind of started using it last. It's a experimental map, so they're probably why they're not obviously in a hurry to update this. But they keep calling this a moderate impact event. It'll end up being a major impact event in some of those areas, or even an extreme if we get that kind of ice accumulations that the models are suggesting. And it is on the table. It is likely. I'm not surprised at all for that outcome. So let's take a look at Dallas. Let's take a look at the NAM model for your area. Tomorrow and overnight tonight, again, light freezing rain down here in Dallas-Fort Worth. You're going to have accumulations through your midday Tuesday, up around a 1/4 inch of freezing rain. You might have a little bit of sleet mixed in, but it should be mostly freezing rain. And what you're going to focus on here on this line, watch this little red line right here, if you can make it out on your screen. See how that kind of goes up with time? Time, by the way, T, if you remember college, T goes left. All right, so from right to left. And this is Tuesday. All right. And then over here is going to be Wednesday, and then over here, Thursday. All right, so there's your little brief deal. Tuesday morning to midday, and then it's out of here. Then the lift is gone, so you get to quiet down. But in that little round, you get a 1/4 inch of freezing rain, a little bit of sleet. Then Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, you get a little bit of signal, some more drizzle, freezing drizzle. Then from Wednesday, midday, through Wednesday night, midnight, in this pattern, guess what? You get another 1/2 inch or so of pure freezing rain. That's a ton of lift right here on the map, a ton of moisture on the map. It spells ugly. I mean, if you want a classic ice storm, catastrophic signal, and you've been looking for one for a while, this is it. I don't know what Dallas is going to look like if they actually got up to an inch of pure solid freezing rain. I could even begin to tell you that it'll make the news for weeks, so it'll be nasty. Okay, so that's Dallas. Let's go to let's see what else I want to do. Okay, let's go over here. Oh yeah, we'll go to Tulsa and Oklahoma City. All right, so in Tulsa, or excuse me, I'm doing Oklahoma City first. We barely have anything in the data for our little event tomorrow. In other words, the models still think it's fairly light. But here in the extended, they do pick us up about a 1/4 inch of freezing rain for that Wednesday slot. So again, a 1/4 inch of freezing rain is going to cause problems here in Oklahoma City, both of at least some sporadic power outages, and of course road conditions will be nasty. Same thing for Tulsa. Doesn't have a whole lot on this map, so we'll kind of ignore that because it should be just at least a little bit more than nothing. But out here for the Wednesday time frame, at least it has you at about 1,500, so not nearly as bad as Oklahoma City. You're kind of on the northern fringe of that activity, so you won't be getting as much, but still enough to cause at least some travel issues in your area. Okay, finally, if we go to, boy, where is this? I've got so many tabs open here. Last thing I want to talk about, where to go? It was here a minute ago. Oh, I guess I closed it. Well, what was I thinking? Let's just type that in. Let's just do this right here. All right, so we're going to go to aarontotalweather.com. So that's my website. If you haven't been there, get my weather app, AT's Weather to Go, free Apple, Google Play. We're going to go down here to multi-state road conditions. The reason why I tell you that because on my app, you can access the same data. It's the third thing, I think, down from the tab menu item. All right, so here's a look at soil temperatures across Oklahoma, for example. And we are into the 30s. So as a rule of thumb, when soil temperatures are in the 30s, frozen precipitation on area roadways is much more likely to cause travel issues. Plus, if you can get air temperatures below 28 degrees, that's a double whammy, which means you're dealing with ice. As soon as it falls from the sky, it will stick and it will be slick. If you do look at the Oklahoma road map here across the state, you can pick any one of these cameras at any point in time when you get up in the morning. You want to say, hey, how are things looking? You can click on here, and these road crews will have a picture. Now, dark, it's going to be hard to see unless they have their headlights on. And you might be able to make out the road in some of these. You'd have to open it up and then zoom it on your map. So, for example, this one looks, whoa, I went really in there, didn't I? How big in there are you going? All right, so there you go. There's a look at his headlights on his snowplow, and you can see that there is still some junk on the road, but he's watching it, right? So that's kind of how you can track in Oklahoma when it comes to the road crews and whatnot. And then if you zip down from there, you can see how things are moving in the city itself. And this will expand elsewhere too. So we blow this one up. You can see traffic is still moving along on the highways, so that's some good news. And of course, you can also see a sheen on the road as well, where it looks wet. You got to be careful about that black ice. Of course, crews have been working these, so that should keep that ice at bay. But it can't get every road, and they can't get it 24/7. When new precipitation moves in, it has a chance to cause some problems until they can get to it. We look at Missouri; they've got some issues. They've got some roads here that are notated in some colors to say, "Hey, we got some problems." I've got Colorado on there. I've also got Texas and Arkansas as well. And in Texas, earlier today, they were having some trouble with their camera network when I was trying to pull it up. But you can see Dallas-Fort Worth, some of these roadways here, they're all orange or red just for numerous accidents and or issues with driving. And you can click on any one of these little cameras, and you can blow that up full screen. You can see how it's ice covered, how roads are moving. So all this is available at AaronTuttleWeather.com for all the surrounding states, or again on my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. Whew, that was a mouthful. And some of you, I know you didn't like my hoodie today, but you have to understand. You see, ATM stands for Aaron Tuttle Meteorology. It just so happens that worked out. I didn't plan that when I went to school there, but it just kind of worked that way. But anyway, so there you go. I've taken care of everybody from Oklahoma down to Dallas area. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on Arkansas. That is a mess. The terrain, your local forecasters should have a better handle on terrain-induced precipitation zones, like around Little Rock and stuff I talked about. I gave you the big picture, and you are expecting an ice storm, and you will get some serious detailed amounts. And there's going to be a period of time where it's going to be nasty. There's a period of time it's going to get a little bit better. But your local guys should be able to nail that down a little bit better than me, only because they're more familiar with the intricate details of the terrain in that area that I am not. We're lucky here. It's pretty much flat, so I don't have to worry too much about that. And let's see on YouTube, Samuel, yeah, you got an inch of sleet today. There's a lot of people that got about an inch of sleet out there. And again, sleet is those little dots that come down from the sky and bounce around. The freezing rain is like regular rainfall. It just freezes on contact, and that's on elevated surfaces, power lines, bridges, trees, all that kind of stuff. And that's what makes things really slick and hazardous. But you guys, thanks for chiming in on YouTube for tonight. Facebook, if you had some questions for me, I know I wasn't able to see any of them, so if you've got them, now's your time to shoot them out. Christy says, catastrophic in Ardmore. Looks that way along the Red River, from Ardmore especially, east, and then northeast a little bit till you get south of McAllister. Jared, still looking for The Walking Dead and DFW. I kid you not. Nobody believes there will be Ice Wednesday. I don't know what's going on down there in Dallas, man, but thanks for the stars. Here's the deal. I mean, I guess you can look at all the data and then not believe it, and then say, you know what, I'm not going to believe it. I'm just going to call for it to be a chilly rain. You can do that, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't do it, but I will tell you this. In the world of weather, you're only as good as your last forecast. So I could literally nail the next 999 forecasts, and you'd be extremely happy. And then I bust on that 1,000. You know what you're going to remember? The 1,000. So I guess this is going to be all of Dallas's 1,000. So they all get the reset after this. They all start over at terrible, and then they have to re-earn their reputation over the next 999. Let's see. Patricia, Blanchard, Oklahoma got a lot of sleep. Cover the roads this morning, 8:15. Yeah, they're still covered. There's still a lot of stuff out there. Be careful, you're going to be walking around. I know you guys got to get your afternoon and morning walks, but there's a bunch of ice around. You have to walk like a penguin so you don't slip and fall. So you guys, okay, so you're going to pull down, you're going to start naming down towns. So this is where I go back to where you got to learn how to read a map. But I do it in a nice way. I mean, only because you got to kind of know at least your general area on a map. So that way you'll know, because these maps usually only show the biggest cities, for the most part. They don't go down to every little intricate area. Let me see. For example, let me show you. Oh, you know what? One of the models probably just came in. Let me see what's come in new. Hold that thought. I'm thinking. All right, so that was still 24 hours. So I'll give it a little bit longer. Let's see. Let's see what this does. All right, I'll show you this. All right, now I've been hammering on the GFS, the American model, how terrible it was, right? It didn't even know we were having an ice storm. I want you to know, now the ice storm has officially started as of 24 hours ago. In other words, the winter storm has already been here. It finally realized that we're going to have ice. Now, is that not a forecast or what? Is that not a good model? I don't know what to tell you. But it actually finally has accumulating freezing rain here in central North Texas, from Killeen, Waco up to Dallas, Weatherford, Abilene, Wichita Falls. Now, amounts, of course, aren't exactly right, but hey, at least it's in the ballpark. It's way better than it was for the last week. It was so pathetic. And now it's got stuff down here a lot in South Wichita Falls and back out into Texas. It even actually has some accumulating stuff in Oklahoma City. So, hey, good job, GFS. Good job. All right, so that's what I don't want to see, just because, everybody needs a laughing stock for models, and that's the one. All right, the maps are just so little on the screen. Alicia, oh, come on now. Have you heard of HD, like 1080p or bigger? You can put this up on your TV. So here's the deal. If you haven't done that yet, either Aircast it from your phone. You can Chromecast it or Mirrorcast it from your Android device. You can watch it from your apps on your TV. So YouTube, 1080p, full screen. Facebook Watch, I believe, is now on apps you can pull up on your Roku or probably your Fire Stick, any of those things. You can pull that up, full screen HD. So there's a lot of ways you can watch this to where you don't have to squint. So the only time I suggest you watching me on your cell phone or your little tablet is if you're in your Frady hole waiting for the tornado to pass overhead or by you. That's it. The rest of it, man, blow me up. I dry off the oil and stuff off my head so I don't shine and block you out. Now, you will look down into my pores, so don't tell me what you see, because I don't even see how close in this thing can get. So don't blow me up too big. But anyway, but that's what you can do if you're having some trouble seeing what's on the screen. Let's see. So as far as the questions coming in on travel, can you please add New Mexico to the state of road conditions? Oh, you guys want New Mexico on there? I never thought about that. All right, we'll see what I can do for the New Mexico. Doug, turn it sideways. Yeah, you can. That'll help you a little bit. Not a whole lot. All right, so it looks like there's a bunch of latecomers. And here's the deal. A lot of the doctor's offices and stuff obviously will still try to be open. And some schools, it depends on the superintendent, et cetera, et cetera. And all that's up to individual, choice. Most people want to make money, so as long as the roads are passable and doable, they're all going to go in, including your employer, right? So that's the universal rule. Usually what prevents that is if it's just so bad, it's an ice skating rink, right? And usually for some reason, snow gets more of the closings than this ice stuff. And honestly, ice is the worst of the two. You can't drive on black ice, and you can't drive on a thin sheet of a few hundredths of ice either. It's auto hockey time. And that always is gut wrenching. But anyway, so let's go back to the Oklahoma map. There were some questions on timing and who's seeing what, when, and where. So again, in the morning hours, there'll be a heavier round that starts early morning along the Red River. Wichita Falls down, already going on to Dallas. It's a lot of sleet mixed in with this. There'll be some freezing rain and drizzle, but mostly sleet. It does move in between the Red River and Oklahoma City by 9 o'clock in the morning. So here in the metro, probably by 8 it should start. It'll last for a couple hours. There's 10 o'clock in the morning. There's 11 o'clock, and it's already moving into the Tulsa area by then as well. Into noon, there's even a little bit of snow probably in the northern fringe of this activity. So don't be surprised to see a little bit of snowflake activity over maybe parts of western, north central, and northern eastern Oklahoma. Otherwise, more sleet down southeast, a little bit of touch of freezing rain as well. That continues on up through 2 o'clock. Then 3 o'clock starts to wind down, and 4, it's all pretty much out of there. And 5 o'clock, with the exception of far, far southeast Oklahoma. All right, and then we kind of get a little bit of break. Can't squeeze out, maybe the little patch of freezing drizzle somewhere. But our biggest round, again, of significant stuff will be from morning to about mid-afternoon across the state of Oklahoma. All right, then we have the next round that comes in on Wednesday. This is lunchtime. Same thing, repeat, but a much longer time frame and a lot more precipitation. So there's kind of starting at a little bit of sleet. And then here's the deal. Temperatures in the loft in the atmosphere start to warm because that upper level storm system is coming in. So it pipes up those warmer 850 millibar temperatures, and that changes any sleet back over to freezing rain. And so that's why on Wednesday in the late afternoon, as this stuff makes its way into the Oklahoma City metro and points south, it may come in as sleet initially, but then look what happens over time into the evening hours on Wednesday. We convert it over to red, which is all freezing rain. And that's all freezing rain accumulations through Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So you're probably your worst travel day at all. You're probably the time that no one's going to be on the roads is going to be Wednesday night. So late Wednesday into Wednesday night and then Thursday morning. Now, here's the deal. Let's take a look at temperatures because this is where things get interesting. So we're going to be cold, 20s again tomorrow, and here we go. So here's Wednesday afternoon. Do we actually get, where'd it go? Here we go. Wednesday afternoon. Do we actually get to 33 or 34 degrees? I'm liable to think no. And then as the precipitation moves in Wednesday evening, it cools us back down below freezing anyways, as some of that surface colder air kind of wet bulbs down with the dew point. Remember, it's still pretty dry around here with the dew point value. All right, so that gives us to 30 degrees at midnight hour, which holds. There's 1 a.m., and it stays, looks like it freezing through 6 a.m. Now, should this happen verbatim, and we've had as much ice we've had up to 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain, Thursday morning, you ain't going anywhere. That said, Thursday should be a very quick warm-up. So the morning hours, early start to the day, is the trouble. It could easily be by 9 o'clock in the morning. We're all above freezing and all the roads are wet and no longer ice covered except for maybe on the sides of the roads, that kind of deal. So there's a little window there where Wednesday night into Thursday morning, the state shut down. Then as we head into Thursday morning, mid-morning, it's right back open. It's like it never happened. We're warming above freezing, and then all the ice and whatever is melting rather quickly. That short duration should also help with power outage issues if we end up getting like about 1/4 of an inch here of ice in central Oklahoma. So that's some good news there. But again, you're asking very specific details, which I am providing you on a Monday evening. But I do try to get as detailed as possible for you by going off what the data suggests, because otherwise I'd be doing you a disservice. So I tell you everything that there is to tell you that way you can plan accordingly. All right. Debbie, you're welcome. I'm glad your friends were able to make it back. I had a buddy of mine he was in California, high school buddy, and he's like, is it going to be bad on Monday in Dallas? I said, yeah. He said, should we come back early? I said, probably. So I said, look, you could try to, hang on there and do it, but you're going to be stressing out the whole way. Or you can just get an evening flight on Sunday and then get home and not even worry about it. So that's what he did. He got to sleep nice and quiet on his pillow at home rather than, freaking out all day on Monday trying to get back into town. But yeah, so there's going to be some issues down there in Texas, obviously. I outlined those as well. Just kind of scrolling through some of your comments. Again, if you missed it earlier, my website, AaronTuttleWeather.com, has a ton of stuff on there, including road conditions, and then also my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. It's free, Apple, Google Play. Now, the funny thing is, I noticed on Apple, and it irritates me, if you type in AT's Weather with a space between it, it doesn't find it. And I'm like, really, Apple? Is that how you're going to do me? But if you put AT's Weather all one word, it finds it right off the bat. It's the top thing. Conversely, you could search my name, Aaron Tuttle, if you know how to spell it. Sometimes people go A-R-O-N, or sometimes I don't know, they don't even know how to spell my name. But if you spell my name, it'll find it there too, and that should be on both platforms. Jasmine, why can't all the news stations be as good as you? Man, because then there'd be no need for me. Let's see. No, Lisa, all the models are having ice on Wednesday. There's just the question is, does some of the ice, you know what, I'll show you this. Well, I already kind of showed it to you. I'm just thinking outside. The only places where right now the models indicate it could warm on Wednesday above freezing is southern half of Arkansas and the northern half of Oklahoma. That's it. Everybody else stays below freezing, and then any precipitation that falls at that point in time is still frozen. The question part that I could believe is southern parts of Arkansas. I could believe that warms up enough. Maybe not quite Little Rock, but southern third at least. I could believe that. Oklahoma, the northern third of Oklahoma, I could believe that. Here in Oklahoma City Metro, I'm having a tough time believing that. So I'm going to hold about 32, and we'll see what happens. Lauren, did that guy driving from Tulsa to Denton ever make it? I don't know. He was on YouTube. I'm going to have to go back over there to YouTube to find out. So who was he there tonight? I don't know. Jody might have to help me out. I don't see him on there. So I guess he made it. Boy, he was worried. He was all about that drive, man, for 3 days straight. He did not want to do it. I think his employer was like, either you better do it or get another job. He's not on? All right. So, yeah, there's your answer. He must have went down there. He might still be on the road driving. I don't know, man. That's a long drive and that stuff. Let's see. I don't know anything about flights. I see the question there for coming in. The answer, they should be affected. Right. Now, there's de-icing. You know, they try to clear off the runways and stuff, and they do have the protocols for all that. But you're asking a lot, you know. So, unfortunately, I can't be the fortune teller in that department. I can just say, as a minimum, when it comes to weather, you plan on delays, right? As a worst case, you plan on some cancellations. Unfortunately, Dallas is a huge hub. That's going to be a nightmare. And then, of course, Oklahoma City. So we're still in the same boat. Now, they will obviously squeeze in where they can. So it's just kind of luck of the draw at that point. Let's see. Thank you, Denisha. Appreciate that. I can see your shirt or your emblem there in the background. Gig 'em. Let me think. So, you know, for who was it that said the TV guys? Now, I will tell you this. I used to be in TV for 12 years. So if you're kind of wondering, why does this look like I'm at a TV station? Well, because I built one. I made my own. But yeah, so I worked in TV for 12 years down in Bryan College Station. So when I was at A&M as an Aggie. And then I moved to Tulsa. Worked at Channel 8 there for a couple of years. And then I moved to Oklahoma City and worked at Channel 5 for a few years. So altogether, it ended up being about 12 years. And then I got tired of it. Now, because there's a lot of nonsense that goes on behind the scenes in that business. And honestly, a lot of the news you see is dumb. A lot of the stuff on there, you could go your whole day without knowing. It's not that important. And so I always told people, I said, if you can count 5 things on your hand that you just had to know that day, that you couldn't have gone to sleep without knowing, then it's for you. Then stick with it. But if that's what that is, and you just wasted half an hour of your time, I always say go read a book, go spend some time with your spouse, with the lights turned down low. You know what I mean? Kids will be asleep, so just you know, nothing to do with them. Just have some me time, or you know, join me. I don't know, but anyway, so that so I got back on this side of the business for social media, and it just turned into something. I didn't really plan for it to. It just turned out that way. I was just doing what I love to do, which is helping people out with the forecasts, and started on Facebook. And it just went up organically, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll just keep going. And then I was storm chasing during that time, and almost died on a storm chase because of everything got crazy in that world. And I said, okay, that's enough for me. So I just started broadcasting tornado coverage out of my home office in my studio, and then that went viral. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And then TV stations here in Oklahoma City saw that and weren't too happy about it because here's the deal. I was stealing their market share. I was stealing their ratings, and that's money for them. And what's funny is that model, even when I was in, it was a dinosaur as far as revenue generation. They were hurting because ratings were already falling. They're in the toilet now compared to even what they were 10 plus years ago. Just because nobody wants to watch the news anymore. Nobody has to stay up till 10 o'clock. Nobody has to watch the commercials. You know, you have DVRs back in the day, but now you don't even do that. So then every kind of thing started moving online. Well, the problem with the news model is that they had the weather segment, the 3-minute weather segment at 10:17, because they want to capitalize your attention and hold you into that second quarter hour, because they can pad the numbers and they can sell that for revenue generation. So they can say, hey, look, you know, we have higher numbers in our second hour. Well, that's because the weather guy pulls them in and pads it up. Well, the problem with that is I was giving away all the weather at 9:30 in the evening before the news even came on. So there goes that reason for you to stick around to watch the weather in the second quarter hour. So they took a note of that. They didn't like that. I'm not surprised. But they were stuck between a rock and a hard place, because here's the deal. We need the weather to hold on to it. We just tease it. Like in the newscast, we tease at the top. And then we tease it 10 minutes later or 5 minutes later. Tease, and then they give it to you. Well, the issue with that is they can't give it away. They risk losing the additional viewers, the ratings for that numbers. So they're like, well, what do we do? Because now if this is a new social media landscape, and we had a former, colleague just show us that it can be done on his own. Where's this going to go from here? And like, we're going to have to play the same game. So then they started to switch and started doing a lot more social media, and they started giving it away. So now the guys on TV will give the weather away on social media, and it's just like, we have to, because if we don't, we'll lose that space. So they had to take their chances. And of course, all that did was just drop ratings even more for the newscast itself. So that's the kind of business model that the TV stations are in right now for the newscast. They've had to accommodate and go a lot into the social media world. Otherwise, guys like me were going to eat their lunch. So, and lucky for them, I didn't really capitalize on any of that because I have a day job. I got a full-time day job. This was just for fun, and I didn't know it was going to turn into what it did. I just like doing it. I just like helping you guys out. And here, I'm in a loose format, and I can spend as much time as I want really diving into the model data. I mean, I can go nuts. We can show you everything there is behind the scenes. So by the time you're done, you get a degree in meteorology. You're like, oh yeah, I learned so much. So that's kind of how I approach it. It's like an educational tutorial type broadcast. So there's a lot of information, and I know it's long. You don't have all that kind of time, and I get it. So a lot of times people just kind of tune in, what he's saying, and they tune out, or they'll come back and watch the replay afterwards. And you can just scan through, the point where I get to whatever it is you want to hear, or you can scan through and see, oh, he's talking about this now, I'll stop it and play. Oh, he's talking about this now, I'll stop and play. So there's all kinds of ways you can then go back and watch the information. But on these big events is when I go a lot longer, because obviously everybody has a bigger interest, a lot more of a vested interest in it. So usually it's tornadoes that gets people's attention for long term, and also for ice storms, snowstorms. Those three things, is why we hang out for as long as we do. Other than that, these are a lot shorter. I think I usually average about 10 minutes, 15 tops on just regular weather discussions on just stuff that's coming up for the week, or something to look forward to. And I don't do a whole lot of just like the standard day-to-day weather, like the California style, where it's the same thing every day. To me, that's boring. To you got better use of your time. You don't need to see me do that for you. So that's why I have the weather app, AT's Weather to Go. You can get your immediate forecast and know exactly what it is day to day. And then it's on the big events. Then when I come in and say, all right, let's talk details. Let's go into science. And let's find out really what's going to happen and why. And so I started doing that a long time ago. And then, of course, imitation is the best form of flattery. So the TV guys will try to do that, but they don't have as many tools as I do. I'm really surprised, man. But they, I don't know. I mean, they could do what I do, but they don't. Probably because now they're double dipping, right? They got to do two jobs, and they probably don't want to do that. I don't mind doing two. I got three jobs. So this is my side gig, so to speak. Then I joined my wife with Team Tuttle Realty. She's a realtor of 12 years. And then so last year we made Team Tuttle Realty. And I said, all right, I'll become a realtor to help you out. 'Cause she's from Canada. So she had to start all over. In other words, she had to give up everything to come to marry and live with little old me. And so I felt horrible. Because when you ask somebody to give up everything and they got to start over with nothing after 12 years of a business, that's rough, right? So I said, all right, I would not be a nice guy to just, let you struggle like that. So I got my license, and last summer we formed the company, so we're good to go. So if you guys do need assistance, I'm gonna let her do most of the work. I'm that kind of guy. But I will be there and be around. So yeah, if you want some help locating a home, finding one, selling one, let us know. Team Tuttle Realty. You can get us on Facebook. It's Team Tuttle Realty. It's real simple. Our website's teamtuttlerealty.com. You can look all that stuff up, and so that's some good news there. We can help you out in the world of real estate. I'm learning a lot, by the way, in that, and I'm just learning a lot when it comes to homes, home ownership. The things you should really know before you even go down that path. Things I wish I knew, and I tell you, man, there's some people in this world that don't have the ethics you think they should have. And when I see it, I'm just like, what? So I don't like that. I don't like doing business with people that are shady at all. So anyway, if you want somebody trustworthy that's not gonna lie to you, I don't lie to you about the weather, and I certainly ain't gonna lie to you about real estate. Anyway, come find me out, send me a direct message or whatever. Let's see. Have you ever thought about writing a book? Yeah, actually I have, but because I have 3 jobs, I have no time. You know what? I'll tell you what, I could hire you. You could follow me around and I'll just dictate lines and then you write it all down. And then somehow we'll put it all together. But one day I actually might write a book to show you how I ended up doing what I did and not really understanding what I was doing and how big of an impact it was going to be. That it's weird when you're a pioneer and you don't know that you're a pioneer. Because if you go back and think about it and you realize, oh wait, I mean I kind of knew I was being a pioneer, but I didn't put myself on that pedestal, right? I'm too busy scrapping, just trying to make stuff work and build something. So you don't really have time to think about that. And so I never really tried to capitalize on it. If I had, it'd probably be a different story, but maybe I wouldn't be as happy as I am today. I don't know. But yeah, so that was interesting. Like the weather app, for example. At the time, only TV stations had a weather app. I was the first individual to have one that had all that functionality, predict tornadoes, all that kind of stuff. So that was new too. And so I proved that can work in this world for weather. So it's kind of neat doing all that, but just what I do. Now it's kind of those deals. You're born to do something, right? So you just do it. You just know to do it. All right, let's see. I've gone on for quite a while. Yeah, I mean, come on board. we're getting started. Come on in. The water's nice. So anyway, so what I'm going to do here tomorrow, tomorrow I can give you a live around lunchtime. I think, knock on wood, something. But yeah, I think I can do live tomorrow. It would be like around 11:40 is the plan. 11:45, usually when I go live, somewhere in that time frame. So I catch you right as you're about to go to lunch or, so you can join me for your lunch hour. And then, of course, tomorrow evening around 9:30, we'll see how that goes. And then rinse and repeat for Wednesday. And then after that, you probably won't see me maybe for a couple of days, right? So I can take a breath. And then if there's another storm next week, scratch that. We'll see. Because ain't nobody got time to take off if we got back-to-back storms. But no, I don't sleep or eat, Teresa. That's why I moved to intermittent fasting. That way I don't have to eat anymore. It's funny. Actually, I don't mind intermittent fasting. Robin, do I do art? Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. I was going to be an artist when I was growing up. And then my mom told me something, which I'll never forget. The problem when you tell a child something, they take you literally, right? They don't understand the figurative difference. And I was in 8th grade, and I was really good, especially at pottery, okay? And so I had a really good talent. And I really liked the weather too, though. So I was kind of torn on what I wanted to do back then. So I like to watch the guys on TV, right? So that was my other passion, I guess. And I said, so I kind of didn't know what to do. And I remember this is 8th grade. I'm making big life decisions at 8th grade. So I was, 13 or something? I don't know. She says, she goes, you're good at art, but you'll probably live in a cardboard box the rest of your life. And I remember thinking, well, I played a cardboard box, but I certainly wouldn't want to live in one. And so I thought, I guess I better do the weather. And that was it. I mean, that one little discussion, that's all it took. And I said, all right, so I'll just do art for fun, and then I'll go and follow my passion in weather. Nancy goes, show us some of your art. Oh, boy. So I would have to take you on a virtual tour of my phone. So I'll tell you what. I would have to start this. During this broadcast, it'd be difficult because then I got to use my phone to do it, to walk you around, right? And but yeah, I'll do that. I'll get it set up, and then maybe I'll do like a walk-in live, So we'll see. I'll look into that. But no, it's a good request. So I still have a lot of stuff like on the art. Like I have a room here that's got some artwork on it. But anyway, so that was the backstory and how I ended up choosing weather. And then luckily, I kept the art side of my brain going. So my brain's mixed. It's half and half. So I got both sides working. How I don't know. I'm weird that way. So for what I've learned in my skill set, of course, I've got the creative background. So and really you put a lot of that in computer design, right? So you have the creative design on the graphic side, computer science, and then you've got marketing, promotion, Then you've got obviously the talent of you got to know what you're talking about, the knowledge for the whole science, and then you've got which of course includes math, physics, chemistry, more computer science, so coding, which then leads you to website development, which then also then takes me into the tech side, which then taps into the media aspect where I have to learn everything about computers so I can make sure I've got the latest and greatest both hardware, software, the platforms I need to push, what I need to do with bandwidth, compression, which then takes me into cameras, takes me into lighting for studio, which takes me into, God, I lost my train of thought. It's a lot going on up there. That's what I'm trying to get at. So it's neat because I came along at the right time, right place, and I had the right total skill set to do what it is that I did, and I'm still doing it. So I'm grateful for every day I get to wake up, that God gives me the chance to breathe one more day and to help somebody out in some way on this planet. And so that's the way I look at it. So always got to be grateful. Always got to be thankful. Like anybody else, you screwed up 1,000 times. So be thankful there's something called grace, because we all need it. And we're all fail. We're all humans. So we can pick ourselves back up, learn from it, move on, take ownership, all that stuff. So you learn a lot of lessons on the mature side as well, in addition to all that other stuff I just talked about. So it's a whole enchilada. Let's see. Yes, Priceless Stitching on YouTube. I did do a walkthrough showing you my art a few years ago. I don't remember when it was, but I do remember doing that. So yeah, we can always do another one. And I know somebody is so late. I'm not even sure how you even got here. Who was it that said they just tuned in? Natalie Crimmins. Shame. Tisk. Everybody say LTTP for Natalie. Late to the party. All right. So I don't know where to start with you, girl. All right, this is it. I'm going to sign off, though, because I got to go. Wife's having got to deal with some issues tomorrow, and I'm going to the doctor's office in the morning. So fingers crossed that, the roads are good, because we're going. They said they're going, so we'll go. All right, so anyway, bottom line on that is potential a little bit more light freezing drizzle overnight tonight, scattered across the state, central, southern, eastern Oklahoma, same thing. Bridges and overpasses, watch those mainly. But any drizzle at all, if it comes down heavy enough, will be any road, especially if it's not treated. Crews are out, so just kind of watch it. And then toward the morning hours, so daybreak again, Red River, that quickly moves north. So we'll have a mixture of light freezing drizzle, rain, and mostly sleet again, though, mixed in, moving through southern Oklahoma into central Oklahoma, so Oklahoma City Metro by probably 8 o'clock, especially on the south side of town, moving through to the north side. So from 8 to 10 to 11 is about that 3-hour wave when that'll move through here in Oklahoma City. So again, roadways go to again. So if you're out and around and about, you'll know it, you'll see it. Be careful. That moves off here. We kind of start to quiet down a little bit for the rest of the day. And then all of eastern Oklahoma from Tulsa, all the way down south to Ardmore, and then east toward Arkansas, gets it for the rest of the afternoon and the evening hours. That moves all off. Again, same mixture. Might get a little snow mixed in the back northern fringe of this for Tulsa area and north central and west central Oklahoma, but not measurable to anything significant. All I can see is maybe a dusting at most, and that's about it. So that's that round for tomorrow. And Dallas at that time also seeing a morning to midday round of freezing rain for those folks, another 1/4 inch of ice down there. And then we go to Wednesday, and that is where things pick up again. Wednesday afternoon across Texas, central Texas, north Texas, and that moves in Oklahoma for the late afternoon and evening. And then we get a mixture of sleet and freezing rain for Wednesday evening to Thursday morning. So a nice long round where we might end up getting a 1/4 inch of ice accumulations here in Oklahoma City for freezing rain. If so, could see some power outages, especially more south for sure, more likely the more down you go. We might see some 1/2 inch ice accumulation totals in far southern and southeastern Oklahoma, which again, that's a big amount of ice on power lines. That could be some problems there. And that extends on down to North Texas. So Dallas, honestly, man, some of the data in Dallas suggests an inch of freezing rain. I mean, that would be, again, it's then the catastrophic area for North Texas of an ice storm with power outages for a long time. So anyway, so that's the kit and caboodle. That's everything, and it all wraps up Thursday morning, and we moderate temperatures really quickly on Thursday. So if you are traveling, you have anywhere to go, and you don't have to worry about this stuff, just hold off till mid Thursday morning, and then everything quickly just like it never happened. starts melting really fast, temperatures warm up, and all that. All right, Mallory. So we're the opposite. I'm an artist now, but I want to be a meteorologist and do storm chasing. My mom said no. That's hilarious. We are opposites. You know what? And I could probably say your mom was right, and you'd probably say that my mom was right. So I don't know. I think maybe we're both where we're supposed to be. How about that? All right. Let's see. Fred says, I'm in the pink. What does that mean? On those maps that I showed you, if you go back and look at anything I post and replay, we are in the red for freezing rain. Okay. And then it is, of course, green is just regular rain. Red's usually on most of the maps you'll see. Red is freezing rain. When it turns to purple, it's usually sleet mixed in. And then if it goes to blue, that's snow. Now on some of the maps, the sleet may be like an orange color. It's usually orange or blue and it depends on what, if you're looking at model data, for example, or if you're looking at radar data. There's going to be some other intermittent color level for that. And of course, blue is always snow, like the light blue and stuff. And then, so that's the difference in the color schemes. And I can tell you this, when you look at radar data, it's a good general proximity. It doesn't, I see you, CRC. It doesn't always nail the exact area of where the rain transitions over to freezing rain, sleet, or snow. They use fuzzy logic, and so sometimes there's a little error in that on radars when they try to paint the different zones, different colors. Just kind of keep that in mind. So if you're underneath one color, it shows on the radar, and you look up and you've got the opposite of what it's supposed to be, it's because the radar's not quite understanding what type of precipitation is there on those algorithms. So they're just algorithms, and they get better with time, but they're not bad at what they do. So you'll see. So anyway, so there goes a quick answer to your question there. All right, I have really gone over way too long. I gotta get going. I was supposed to end this thing a long time ago, and I'm gonna get in trouble from the missus. All right, listen, you guys have been great. Thanks again for the stars on Facebook. Thanks again for you guys, your patronage, your support, liking, sharing this video, like it on YouTube for me. While you guys are still here, hit the like button on your way out. Same thing on Facebook. That way the algorithms know that you like the content. They'll keep showing it. And if you'd like to subscribe, Facebook fan subscriptions, there's Subscribe Star, there's Patreon. There's all kinds of ways you can support me, so appreciate that too. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Sleep well. Be safe. Take care.